Alcatraz.
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 मुझे अल्काट्राज से नफरत है।
Alcatraz is the map that exposes every weakness a CODM player has, and 99% of players still can't survive longer than 2 minutes. Because they treat Alcatraz like any other battle royale map, and that's the fastest way to die. But today, I'm going to break down exactly why most players fail, and how you can dominate even if you're a brand new rookie or a returning veteran. After hundreds of matches and studying top Alcatraz players, I've boiled everything down into 4 simple, battle-tested frameworks. And as a bonus, I am revealing advanced tricks only 1% player use. It's time for a change. Let's start with the real reason you keep losing, treating Alcatraz like isolated or normal BR. A lot of players come into Alcatraz with the mindset they use in Blackout or the normal Battle Royale.
Let's go!
They expect long-range fights. They expect slow rotations. They expect time to loot, time to breathe, time to think. Well, Alcatraz is none of that. This map is pure chaos. You're fighting in hallways, staircases, cells, and tiny rooms where enemies are literally 2 meters away from you. It's a map designed for close-quarters combat, meaning your movement, reaction speed, and positioning matter more than accuracy or long-range aim. Not only that, but landing panic, the most common way people die. Landing in Alcatraz is the most dangerous 10 seconds of the entire match, because you don't have weapons yet, but 20 other players are landing right next to you. Most players underestimate how chaotic this moment is. Some try to melee, some give a hell of a run. They even hesitate when grabbing weapons. And all it takes is one enemy to grab a shotgun before you do, and the whole landing zone turns into a slaughterhouse. Speaking of slaughter, the next mistake that can kill you in both ways is the overconfidence versus underconfidence. There are 2 types of players who lose in Alcatraz. The overconfident rusher. This player sprints into every hallway, pushes every team, and rushes blindly because it's just Alcatraz. Besides, I have 5 free flights. But they forget one thing: Alcatraz is full of third parties. If you push without info, another squad will hear you, and you'll get shot from both sides. But what if you don't push for trouble? Like the underconfident camper. This player hides in a room, scared to fight, waiting for enemies to come to them. Well, the problem is that if your team is fighting and you're not helping, you become the reason they get wiped. And once the zone moves, you're trapped with no kill streaks, no loot, and nowhere to go. Not only that, but lack of team coordination, the instant wipe problem. This is one of the biggest reasons squads die in Alcatraz. They jump separately. Suddenly, everyone is alone fighting 1v4. In Alcatraz, separating is a death sentence. Because every fight here is close quarters. Having even one teammate alive beside you can change everything. You can even use one teammate as shield. A coordinated team landing together wins almost every early engagement, because shooters get the crossfire advantage, which makes solo shotgun players regret playing this game. But here's the thing most people miss: not understanding respawn behavior. Most players completely ignore how the respawn mechanic changes the tempo of a match, which is a huge mistake. But don't worry, since you are still watching this video, I'm gonna help you win almost every game. However, to successfully win every match, you must have a perfect landing strategy. Now, before you ever touch the ground, your match is already halfway decided. Alcatraz is a tiny map packed with danger, and if you don't understand the map layout, the proper flight path, and how to survive the first 10 seconds, you're basically volunteering to be someone else's free kill. Therefore, I'm gonna break down the layout of the game, ranking the best spots to land, from safe to high risk. First up is the model industry. Now this is one of the overlooked spots in Alcatraz since there aren't many respawn flights over there. This spot is a 3-floor story building with enough loot for a 4 squad. You can find weapon supply crates here, here, and here. These crates are very essential since you can loot classes from them. The fun part is that you can find vending machines behind the building. This is helpful for finding shotguns very fast, which makes it safe and best for beginners. The next spot is the new industry. This is a 2-story with moderate loot for a squad. You can find weapon supply crates here and a vending machine here. Talking about safety, the new industry is hotter than the model industry, because it's the spot where enemies with few free flights camp and strategize their next move. It's a good spot for first flight loot, but the second or third, not really. Now we have the Warden's House, a collection of multi-level buildings with great sightlines. These buildings are moderately stocked with loot as compared to the industries. Really bad place to land for a squad since there wouldn't be enough weapons for the whole team. The only fun part is the tower. This gives you a cooling time and good sniping sight, but it's a high risk. Because it is enclosed, it gives shotgun enemies the advantage. Friendly advice: you wouldn't want to camp or stay for long. The next spot is the Officers Club. This spot is more like a walk-through corridor. It has enough loot for at most 3 players. You might now find your weapon choice, but something more interesting here: a vending machine. This spot is mostly free of enemies, but if you camp for too long, you will face multiple teams. Just loot and leave. Speaking of exposure, next up is the parade grounds. This spot has fewer loot just like the officers club. Weapons are located in the tents and in these constructs. You can also get a vending machine here, but the bad side is that it gets intense during the first flight of the game. Sweaty players land here just to have a feel of the lobby. Landing over there is not really advisable since you can sometimes be stranded, or worst case, get killed. But if that won't convince you, try the ruins, where most stranded enemies take refuge. This spot is right next to the parade grounds. It has moderate loot just like the parade grounds. You can find a vending machine here, but ruins is a bad place to land since it exposes you to many angles of danger. Not really worth the risk. Speaking of risk comes the powerhouse. Powerhouse sits close to the waterside of Alcatraz, and it's basically a maze of pipes, narrow hallways, broken railings, and sharp angles that enemies love to hide behind. Loot-wise, it's decent, definitely better than parade grounds or officers club, but not on the same level as Cell House. You'll usually find SMGs, shotguns, and enough plates to get started. But here's the catch. You're almost never alone. Powerhouse naturally attracts two types of players. Players running from docks. After losing the initial fight, they rotate into Powerhouse to reset. Players who want fast close-range kills. Shotgun demons love this place because the choke points make it easy to catch players off guard.
Yeah, boy.
Another issue, third parties. Because Powerhouse sits between docks, new industries, and the water, any fight you start here gets interrupted almost instantly. You beam one guy, and suddenly there are footsteps from every direction. Above, below, and behind. And here's the worst part. If you don't know the underground tunnels or staircase layout, you're basically free loot. Players who memorize those tight corners and quick flank routes will delete you before you even played up. Now let's talk about docks, one of the most misunderstood landing spots on the entire map. Docks look simple from the outside, just a bunch of containers, narrow rooms, and a big stretch along the water. But don't let that fool you. This place is a mix of tight corridors, predictable angles, and surprise ambushes. It's honestly not bad, not overpowered, not trash, just solid. You'll usually find SMGs, ARs, and enough armor to keep you alive for early fights. The best loot tends to sit inside the shack rooms, near the crates, and around the staircases leading to the upper walkways. But here's the catch. Because docks is long and narrow, you are always exposed from somewhere. Someone is either pulling up from the waterside, watching from Powerhouse, or sliding in from Industries. And if two teams land here at the same time, it turns into a hallway choke point massacre. If you land as a team, stick together, and take control of the containers first, docks becomes one of the easiest areas to wipe out enemy squads. Everything is close range, everything is fast, and if you get the first gun, you control the entire zone. Just don't land here alone, unless you're trying to speed run back to the respawn plane. And then we have Cell House, the most iconic, chaotic, and downright sweaty location in all of Alcatraz. Cell House is the center of the island, and landing here is like signing up for an instant boxing match with 30 people. This place is a vertical nightmare, 3 levels stacked on top of each other with staircases, cells, tunnels, and sound bouncing off every wall. It's amazing. You can find shotguns, SMGs, purple guns, ammo, armor, everything. But just like the parade grounds, having loot doesn't matter if you die 2 seconds after picking it up. And that happens a lot in Cell House. Every landing here feels like a mini battle royale inside a prison. Fists flying, shotguns blasting, people dropping from the roof. Third parties are crashing every 5 seconds. The Cell House roof is especially dangerous. Yes, the height advantage is great, but landing there without a gun means you're exposed from all directions. Teams rotate from Powerhouse, docks, Warden's house, and Industries. It's a whole circus. If you land in Cell House without a plan, you either get trapped in a stairwell, ambushed inside a cell, or wiped by a squad farming the respawn timer. But if you land together, grab guns fast, and take control of one floor, Cell House becomes the strongest control position on the map. You can hold angles, gatekeep rotations, and farm kills like crazy. Just remember, Cell House rewards confidence and punishes hesitation. If you're not ready to fight immediately, it's better to land anywhere else. But knowing these spots is not enough. Your flight technique affects your chances of surviving. That's why you'll need to learn the best landing techniques. Instead of diving straight into the middle of chaos, dive fast by looking down 45. Instead of diving too slow and arriving last, jump early and aim for low-risk, high-loot areas. Instead of landing on rooftops with zero loot, aim for windows and loot rooms. Instead of following the entire lobby like sheep, land on the guns and weapon supply box. And the most important part is staying close as a team. Now you have learned these techniques, let's talk about how to survive for the first 10 seconds. Most players don't know that the first 10 seconds of loot determines their first 10 seconds of survival. However, the first step to surviving the first 10 seconds is reverse looting. This technique helps you scan enemies while looting. This increases your awareness in the game. But looting isn't just the case, weapon priority is. What do I mean? So for the first 10 seconds, you should aim for long-range weapons that have a steady recoil, and a short-range weapon as well. For the short-range weapon, I strongly recommend using a shotgun like KRM and BY-15. But don't worry if you can't use shotguns. The best shotgun alternative is going for a secondary LMG gun like the MG42 for hipfire kills. To increase your chances, you need to find a hipfire mod. You'll need it, especially when facing sweaty shotgun players looking for a lucky kill. Annoying. Now that's out of the way, let's talk about escaping from danger. Of course, you don't always get your weapon choice or any weapon at all, so your best option is to retreat. And to successfully retreat from hot zones, you must know your escape routes for every spot on the map. For the industries, cell house, officers, and other story buildings, look out for the windows and openings in the roof. You can use the in and out technique to confuse your enemies. You can also look for the underground basement in the model industry, the docks, and the warden's house. Once you survive the chaos of the first 60 seconds, Alcatraz becomes a completely different game. Mid-game is where 99% of players lose control because they don't understand positioning, movement techniques, and team coordination. Let's break it down properly. First up is the power position that most players ignore, such as rooftops. Rooftops in Alcatraz aren't just high ground, they are vision control. From any roof, cell house, wardens, industries, you can beam rotating players, track respawn drops, gatekeep stairs, see third-party opportunities before anyone else. Most players avoid roofs because they think they'll get sniped. But here's the truth. If you move smart and don't stay still, rooftops are the safest place in mid-game. The next big advantage is the outer staircases. Outer staircases are the most underappreciated power spot in the entire map because staircases give you instant high ground advantage. A choke point enemies must push through. Easy slide peek angles. Escape routes upward or downward. If you and your squad lock down an outer staircase, especially cell house long metal stairs, you can control an entire quadrant of Alcatraz with just 2 players holding angles. And finally, a good positioning is the L-shaped corners inside cell house. These corners are brutal. The moment players walk into that L shape, they're already dead if you're positioned correctly. Perfect spot for SMGs, shotguns. Cell house fights are chaotic, but if you hold that L shape like a pro, you turn the chaos into free kills. Most players ignore these corners because they look basic, but that's exactly why they work. They punish anyone who isn't thinking. However, what makes you a dangerous player is your movement techniques. Therefore, I'm gonna break down these movement techniques which will make you harder to kill like a mosquito. First up is the basic slides. We have the left slide, the right slide, and the back slide. It is easy to perform these moves if your sensitivity settings are intact. So, as a gift for you, I made a separate video covering that. You should check it out. The next movement technique is the zigzag movement. This movement is mostly used by shotgun players for closing up on the enemy. You basically swipe left and right while sprinting. It makes you a difficult target. And there is the slide left, jump right, and slide right, jump left. This is a 5-star movement which is very useful for throwing off the enemy's aim. Finally, peeking, which comes in 3 parts. Jiggle peeking, jump peeking, and slide jump peeking. With time and practice, you'll be able to execute these moves without breaking a sweat. Friendly advice. Use lightweight melee weapons like base knife for maximum speed, not spear. Okay, so now we're getting to the most tactical part of the entire video. What are the tag team roles? When it comes to tag team, there are 3 techniques for eliminating a full squad. First up is the entry fragger. This is the guy who initiates every fight, more like the scapegoat in every team. The entry fragger's job isn't to survive the longest, it's to push first, break enemy armor, force enemies off their positions, create openings for the team to enter. Think of him like the tip of the spear. Without him, your team plays passive. With him, you control the tempo. What is expected from entry fraggers is fast reflexes. Because he is usually the first one who see the enemy, he should also be good with close-range fights. He needs something that deletes people instantly, like shotguns and SMG. And he should have movement confidence. Slide, jump, bunny hop, whatever it takes to break cameras and confuse aim assist. This guy starts the chaos, but he doesn't have to finish the fight. His role is to make the enemy panic so the rest of the team can clean up. Next technique is the anchor or camping. The anchor is the opposite of the entry fragger. In this case, he doesn't push recklessly. He doesn't run into open fields. He doesn't leave a position just because he's bored. He would rather hold the map together. He stays on staircases, rooftops, L-shaped corners, outer walkways, power positions. When enemies try to push your team, the anchor is the one who shuts them down. Anchors have good aim, because he's often holding angles where he must win the first shot. And anchors also have good positioning, which helps them to control an area. They also have patience, one of their biggest skill. All they have to do is wait for enemies to walk into their trap. If the entry fragger starts the chaos, the anchor prevents the chaos from wiping out your squad. And finally, the scout. This player isn't just a guy running around randomly. He's the one who understands the map flow better than anyone. His job is to rotate early, ping enemies, monitor respawn drops, watch third-party angles, tell the squad when to push or when to retreat. Even without a mic, scouts communicate with movement and pings. Scout players are mostly known for awareness. He must pay attention to footsteps, gunshots, parachutes, mini minimap pings, everything. He also uses a decent range weapon. Could be AR and sniper, or even an SMG with a long-range attachment. He's the one doing early damage and forcing teams to reposition. Scout players are very good when it comes to solo. He has the ability to survive alone and go ahead of the team. If they get caught alone and die instantly, they're not scouting, they're feeding. A good scout won't always top the highest kills, but he's the reason your team knows where to go and when to fight. This is the guy who stays alive when everyone else is respawning. Very necessary to have one in your squad. But here's how to use these roles effectively. Scout rotates early and identifies an enemy team location. Entry fragger dives in first, cracks 1 or 2 players. An anchor holds a staircase or roof to prevent third parties. Scout cleans up stragglers or provides range support. Even with randoms, if you understand these roles and adjust your playstyle, your team instantly feels more organized. In the end, Alcatraz isn't just another mode. It's a test of awareness, timing, discipline, and pure survival instincts. Most players get stuck in the same cycle of bad landings, chaotic mid-game decisions, and panic in the final circles, but now you understand exactly how the map works and what the top 1% do differently. You know how to land with purpose, how to control positions instead of chasing kills, how to use the respawn window like a weapon, and how to stay composed when the entire lobby is falling apart. If you start applying even a few of these strategies, you'll notice your matches getting calmer, your fights becoming easier, and your wins coming more consistently. Alcatraz rewards the players who think, not just the ones who shoot, and now you're ahead of almost everyone in your lobby. So if this breakdown helped you see Alcatraz in a new way, make sure you stick around. Drop a like, comment your biggest struggle on the map, and subscribe for more guides that actually make you better, not just entertained. Thanks for watching, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.